Evening and welcome to our council meeting of Monday, May the 12th, 2025. I'm Mitchell Brownstein, your mayor, and that's our city manager, Jonathan Schechter. I'm starting the meeting. And to my far left, I have Councillor Cohen, then Councillor Ben Isri, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Mitch Kajavsky, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Andy Schuster, Councillor Lior Azarad. And we have Pascalie Tanguay as our legal and city clerk running the meeting, and we have Darrell Levine from communications. Before I start the meeting, first of all, congratulations to our Member of Parliament, Anthony Housefather, on your recent election. And thank you for being here with us. I also have two statements to make. The first one, of course, is a very sad one. I'd like to send our condolences to the family of Lubitsa Milasevich Vok, who passed away based on who was standing at the corner of Queen Mary and McDonald when a tree hit her, and she has been officially called deceased. And she was a librarian at the Solomon Schechter Academy, a French librarian, 76 years old. And she was a writer of several books. And it's a great loss to the community, and we send our deepest condolences for this tragic passing. I also want to mention some good news, which is the release of Edan Alexander, a 21-year-old U.S. citizen serving in the IDF, one of the hostages. And we are very pleased of his release and reunification with his family, and wish him well and hope for the release of the remaining hostages in the near future. So before we start the meeting, we're going to have the land acknowledgement and the rules, and then we'll have question period. We're having technical difficulties? It's coming. We're going to have questions in a moment, but, you know, and we have one, the procedure, it's going to be explained in a minute. Darrell Levine is looking for the audio, but if you want to ask a question, in addition, I think you're already on the list, but you just have to fill out a paper, and we'll have, oh, I see your name already, so you'll be able to ask your question. I don't have a paper version of it. Do you want to read it? Do we have it? But in terms of the rules of the question period, I could read that. That I can do. Côte Saint-Luc City Council allows both residents and non-residents to ask questions at its council meeting in both French and English. Every person wishing to ask a question must, at the beginning of the council meeting, fill out a question period form, which can be found at the entrance to the council chamber. The question period at a council meeting is limited to 30 minutes, but may be extended subject to the consent of the majority of the members of council present. Given this time limit,
Shokshage. It was a historic gathering place for many.
I'll finish this first once I read it. Given the time limit and given the desires to allow as many questioners as possible to ask questions, every person has 3 minutes to ask one question, and 1 minute as a follow-up question to the mayor. Prior to asking a question, every person must state their full name. Following the discussion of the council agenda items, there is a second question period. During the second question period, attendees can only ask questions about items on the council agenda. No person may use violent, offensive, or disrespectful language when addressing a question to the mayor. At a special meeting, questions must be limited to items on the agenda. Okay, so play the land acknowledgement.
Justice, devoir du souvenir, liberté culturelle et inclusion sont des valeurs chères à la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. Nombre de nos résidents et leurs descendants ont construit leur vie ici, après avoir fui des situations difficiles ailleurs. Le Canada a été leur refuge. Mais pour les peuples et les communautés autochtones, les politiques gouvernementales au Canada ont créé des injustices. The island of Montreal, where we are meeting today, has a much older name, Chokshage. It was a historic gathering place for many Indigenous communities. It was also the site of diplomacy, including the Great Peace of Montreal. Nous remercions la nation Gagnou-Geaga, également connue sous le nom de la nation Mohawk, pour son hospitalité sur un territoire non cédé. We must acknowledge the past, so that we can move forward in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Okay. All right, so our first questioner is Annette Marciano. Anat Marciano. Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Anat Marciano, and I live on 5720 Cavendish. The first question I have for you is, do we have any place where we can follow up on what's going on in terms of urban planning? I know that it doesn't come up at every council meeting. Is there a place where we can have all the updates? We can read through it. We can...
In terms of what's on we have a website called Engage, and everything is there in terms of what we're doing with our bylaws and our master plan.
It welcomes feedback, but I don't see developments of it. Is there any way where we can see how is it developing, where is it going?
Well, everything's listed. Everything's listed on the Engage plan, and we're just moving forward step by step. We have the most recent development is we do have a traffic study that the city did with, we engaged professionals, and we're going to be presenting the results of that traffic study to the public shortly.
Okay, so traffic is important. The reason I'm asking this question is because I'm particularly interested in housing issues that the whole city is having. Everywhere in the newspapers we can read that we have housing issues, meaning there's very few places for people to rent a place. And the different cities have put in place committees to help people find a rental, a place that they can rent at an affordable price. So I'm a mother of married kids, and the next generation, if they're not buying $1 million home, want to start off with rental, and everything is very, very expensive. Are we following up on what other cities are doing, which is providing for young couples the opportunity to rent something that is affordable? And we don't need low-income housing. We just need affordable.
Yes, we do have social housing in a part of our master plan, but we also do have rentals, condos, and of course, townhouses and all types of properties that can either be rented or bought. So there are going to be a lot of rentals as well.
Rentals, but are we working on the fact that it's very, very unaffordable for the average salary?
Yes, we do. We do have much smaller square footage units that should be more affordable.
Okay, so I just wanted to know if we're keeping up to date with what's going on around the city, and it's up in the newspapers that it's an issue for everybody, the rentals of housing, which is really unaffordable for the majority of people. So if we have it somewhere, and we're addressing it.
Check out the Engage site, and feel free to ask any questions, either in writing by email or at any of our meetings.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions? No. If I don't have any, we'll move to the first item of the agenda, which really is, I should have had the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Cohen.
I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Azarad. All in favor? The agenda is adopted, and now we move to approval of the minutes. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I so move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of April 7th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, second by Councillor Azarad. All in favor? The minutes are moved. Okay, any business arising from the minutes? So then departmental reports, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The monthly departmental reports dated April 2025 be and are hereby adopted as drafted.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion? Who wants to go? Departmental reports, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brief highlights from recreation. Côte Saint-Luc youth aged 6 to 12 competed in Les Jeux de Montréal in fencing, swimming, and gymnastics. earning our clubs more than 25 medals, and the city would like to congratulate all those who competed. Day camp registration is still ongoing. The Ultimate Leaders group is nearly full, and day camp staff training is happening this month. The community gardens are ensuring our eager gardeners are already hard at work preparing their plots for a promising growing season. Of note, Kerwin Garden in particular is thriving with activity and expected to be at full capacity for the first time since the pandemic. The Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society's production of Wizard of Oz is getting ready to hit the stage, with performances beginning on May 29th. Tickets went on sale in April with early bird pricing, and happy audience members were caught up in a tornado of excitement, purchasing a lot of advance tickets. Tickets continue to be sold online through the CSLDS website. A new project of the Dramatic Society is the Volksspiel Theater. This new group is hard at work rehearsing for their June Yiddish cabaret show, and ticket information will be available soon. For spring and summer facility openings, the Sports Annex saw its transition from hockey to pickleball, including the addition of an extra pickleball court, now totaling 6 at the Sports Annex. The facility opened for play on May 3rd, and we've already gotten great feedback and compliments. The tennis club had its season open on May 9th, and memberships continue to be on sale through recreation. Côte Saint-Luc Mega Garage Sale is just days away on May 25th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the gymnasium, and is always popular. And the Parkhaven Pool, preparations are currently underway for Parkhaven Pool Summer opening on June 7th. And we've added some new patio furniture and deck chairs, which people will be very happy about. And as always, a big thank you to the entire team at Recreation for making Côte Saint-Luc a fun and entertaining and active place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster. Anyone else? Councillor Gajowski.
I never go at the beginning. Just something minor, major to share. So this, with all due respect to the Director of Urban Planning and Engineering, Charles Senecal, this month's report was prepared by a new employee, Andy Hiepbu, who actually we're going to hopefully adopt a resolution officially hiring today, a new manager in urban planning. So this is his first monthly report, and I must say, and Andy, I don't know if you're listening, it's excellent. Very different from what Charles presents. Charles, your reports are excellent too, but it's, it's a little different, mix it up a little bit. And something just to single out, because something I've heard many times from residents over the last, 7, 8 years, is that often it takes, or it has taken in the past, a long time to get a permit for work being done at your home. So I personally experienced this 3-4 weeks or so it took to get a permit for work I did at my home 6 or 7 years ago. That average time is now down to 8 days. So for those who are applying for permits, that's excellent news that it makes everybody more efficient, including contractors that you're bringing in to hire. And so the department really is clicking along really nicely. And just so welcome to Andy. And I'll probably say it again when we adopt the resolution hiring him. Just that. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gajowski. Councillor Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with VCOP. So I just want to recognize our VCOP volunteers. In the month of April, we had 171 hours of shifts, representing 339 hours of volunteer work. And the VCOPs, this is, well, speaking of new items, so the Director of Public Safety included the number of kilometers traveled this time. So we have 2,179 kilometers traveled by our VCOP volunteers in patrolling the city, including, of course, we have 2 here, Susie and Harvey, so thank you for their service. And the VCOP volunteers were there at 10 special events last month. On the environment side, we had 345 residents who dropped off their waste and material at our spring cleaning in the month of April. And something new that you'll be hearing about in the next few weeks are the city is accepting at the Public Works Brita filters. So used Brita filters, which previously were going into the garbage, can now be dropped off at Public Works, and more information about this will be coming soon. On the finance side, First, a general reminder, May 22nd is the date of the second installment of taxes. And as I say every year, if you're doing it online, we recommend try to pay a day or two early, just because sometimes it could take 24 to 48 hours to process it, especially going from one bank to another, and we don't want anyone to incur any late fees. This month we had 32 claims, or I should say up to the beginning of this month, we had 32 claims for lead filters. So again, if you live in a home that may have a service line that contains lead, we encourage you to get one of these filters, which will block out the lead. And we also, a new item, and this was, I think it was Councillor Kajewski who originally brought this up in one of our audit meetings. So we have two claims for reusable diaper/menstrual products. So we hope, of course, there'll be more coming throughout the next few months. On the big finance item, which we'll be talking about a bit today and more, I would say, at the next meetings, is we're finishing, I should say, the audit for 2024, and the city will be showing a surplus of approximately $8.3 million, which is a very nice amount, probably one of the largest surpluses we've had. The biggest component, and I'm just double checking my notes, the biggest component was from transfer duties or welcome tax, about $6.4 million over what we had originally budgeted, which we believe is a record for the city. As I've stated a few times, if we go back to 2023, there were very few houses being bought and sold, so we were kind of nervous for 24, but in the end, things turned around, and there were quite a few apartment buildings that were sold, and some even sold twice. So the city was able to generate extra funds. Some of the other highlights in terms of extra revenue, we had more funds from interest rates, so we benefited in terms of the city getting more interest on the money we have in the bank, and we increased government grants by about $1 million in 2024. And on the expense side, we generated more in revenue, and we actually saved on the expenses. One of the big items, or biggest items, and it's hard to imagine because of this winter that we just had, but if we go back to January, let's say January to April 2024, we had very little snow. So we actually benefited from less snow in early 24, which helped us also save about $700,000 in snow removal costs for 24. We'll get the final tallies for 25 later on, which I'm sure will not be the same, especially due to those big snowstorms we had this year. And then we saved again on the environmental costs, partly through this grant, partly due to some of the grants. And I'm just looking, and a few other savings, but overall a surplus of approximately $8.3 million. And I'll pause here and let others continue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a couple of things. First off, just want to talk about animal protection. There's always something new, and former Mayor Housefather's here, who gave me the animal welfare portfolio, and I hope that when he goes back to Ottawa tomorrow, they name him Secretary of State for Animal Protection. But maybe he's shaking his head. I don't think so. But I got a call on Saturday from Helen Adam, who you know, and she told me there was a baby raccoon that was alone in the backyard, and it was like it didn't even know how to walk. And I'm not somebody who's ever gone to rescue a raccoon, but when she told me the story, I just felt horrible. So I drove over there, and I spent about 40 minutes in the backyard with the woman. It was actually Frank Palucci's aunt, and we called around vets. No one would help. It looked like a little kitten. It was so small. It was so scared. It was crying. It was shaking. The SPCA said to put it in a box and put a bottle of hot water to keep it warm and leave it there, and that the mother would come back and get it. And I just had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. What's going to happen if the mother doesn't come back and get it? It was this innocent little creature that could not fend for itself. And very reluctantly, I left, and I stayed in touch with Helen throughout the night. And then the next morning, Helen sent me a note. Good news, the mother came and took the baby back. And I want to thank the SPCA, even though they're not our service. They provided very good information and very good help for us. So, just to say we're out there for all animals. That doesn't,
Councilor Berger says Happy Mother's Day to that nice mother.
That's right. Now, the other thing, Mrs. Palucci was very sympathetic, but she was not happy with the mother who destroyed her balcony and ripped into all her cushions. So we do have an issue with raccoons, we know that, but, you can't get upset with a little baby. The Knights of Pythias had a comedy night with the Côte Saint-Luc Cats Committee as a co-sponsor. It was a fundraiser. They had 250 people. Joey Elias was the headliner. It was a great success. Congratulations to Brian Bloomer, and congratulations to Fern Collier Pereira from the Cats Committee who organized the bake sale. I've spoken to Director City Manager Schechter, and I'm hoping that we're going to have some news on the land on Sir Walter Scott. I know that our staff before winter had been taking some action. The owners of that land have just, really shown great disrespect for the community. They've got a dumpster still sitting there. They've got hazardous material, which is dangerous to children, dangerous to animals. They're not cutting the grass. Either they've got a for sale sign that you can barely see over the grass. We know that they didn't pay their taxes, and they ended up paying their taxes because everyone wanted to buy the land. And I'm just hoping the owner of that land will do the right thing and either build or sell it to someone else. But in a beautiful area next to Alain Ramon, we have these beautiful homes, and we have this dumpster sitting there for a year and a half. It's not acceptable. So I know City Manager Schechter and Director Senecal are working on it now that the good weather's here. Hopefully we can get rid of it. I had a meeting here at City Hall, co-chaired with Councillor Azarad, and we welcomed real estate agents for the first time. Councillor Schuster and Mayor Brownstein were with us at the meeting as well, Councillor Early, apologize. And it was a small first meeting. I hope we'll get Monique at the next meeting because I know she's very busy she's the real Instagram star in Côte Saint-Luc, Monique. But I know it was a very good meeting. We had a very interesting exchange. It's the first time we've done it. I want to thank my two Bialik students who worked on compiling a database. We had a good turnout for the first meeting. You could read about it on my blog. And one final note, I have had 7 interns this year from Bialik High School. And 2 weeks ago, I went to the school and had a meeting with Principal Satov and the students. And we did an Instagram video, YouTube video, and took some photos. And it was great, real learning experience. They took it very seriously. And I hope to increase the numbers next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Who's next? Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You want to go? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Councillor Sabag.
Okay. Just a few words on a busy. It's on.
It's not working.
It's on? Yeah? Can you hear me? Just a few. Thanks. So just a few words on what was quite a busy month for public safety. But first, I want to thank everybody for making the 18th annual Ruth Kovac blood drive such a success. We had absolutely amazing folks volunteering, VCOPs as well. It was fun to see some fellow councillors as well donating blood, which is always super important. There was a little bit of a hiccup with the computers at EMA Quebec, but that was resolved. It was a little bit late, but it did affect the turnout a little bit. So I hope that next year we have, we test the systems before so we can get the full potential of our residents. But it's such a wonderful feeling to chair this particular initiative in our town every single year. So thank you for everybody, the volunteers that were involved, and the staff that made this also quite a success. In terms of the overall statistics in public safety, I just want to say we continue making our dispatch world-class. People wait on average about 5 seconds to get an answer, which is a very, very big improvement from the past years. The average call is about 2 minutes and 37 seconds. And in terms of the number of calls that we were dispatched for EMS, it's 247 this month with 100% volunteer coverage, which equals about 1,900 hours of volunteer work. Speaking of volunteer work, Luc Marchand celebrated 19 years with EMS. Philippe Chateauvert, our very own director, 11 years. Cassandra Pissonneau, 7 years. Thomas Lafleur, Joséphine Chou, 7 years as well. And then François Gélibet, 6 years at EMS. So thank you all for making this wonderful service that we have here in Côte Saint-Luc even greater. We continue making sure that our EMS volunteers, as well as our public safety agents, remain on top of things. So continuing education is taking place as of now. Tomorrow is the next session. I'll be participating in that, continuing education to get more insight on new protocols and, of course, the new defibrillators that I'm very proud we now have here in Côte Saint-Luc to match what Urgence Santé has. So thank you, the council, for approving this purchase, and hopefully we won't have to use them. That's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Next. Councillor Burkhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on, I believe it was May 4th, last Sunday, I gave a Jane's Walk with our librarian, Janine West, and the title of the Jane's Walk was Cavendish, Cavendish from Country Road to Modern Boulevard. And in the course of that research that Janine West and her staff did, she found an agreement from August 1962, and I'll read you the text of what it said, the headline: "A breakthrough came through Côte Saint-Luc, town of Mount Royal, Ville Saint-Laurent, and Montreal," because at the time, Ville Saint-Laurent was a separate city, obviously. And at that time, there was an agreement to basically build Cavendish. So that was 1962. Mayor Paris was, I believe, the mayor at the time. And the contribution of the city of Côte Saint-Luc was 1.3 million for 1.4 miles. And then suddenly the new minister of transport in Quebec submitted another plan for the Décarie Expressway, which ultimately took away the focus away from Cavendish. But that was 1962, which leads me to a meeting that we had with the Minister of Finance, Minister Girard, last week. Now that the federal election is over, the provincial and municipal leaders are all scrambling for infrastructure money. You may have read in the newspapers last week, Girard was asking for all kinds of money for the infrastructure. And so the mayors of Saint Laurent and TMR and Côte Saint-Luc and myself, we met with the minister to ask the minister to respect the Hippodrome agreement that was signed in 2017, and to understand that even if infrastructure money was to come for the housing infrastructure or the water infrastructure or any of the infrastructure that has to go into the Hippodrome project, that it should not be given unless it's also attached to the Cavendish project, because we know that the 2017 Hippodrome agreement was very clear. It stipulated that the land was given to the City of Montreal on one condition, and that condition was that the Cavendish extension be developed. So we reminded him of that, and we also insisted that the housing option that the City of Montreal is proposing, that is 20,000 homes, which are they proposed to build on the site, needs a proper mobility plan. And so we also reminded him, and I want to report to the council and to the public, that we were given a presentation by the City of Montreal about 2 weeks ago, where the mobility plan was completely unrealistic and something that is absolutely, as I've stated previously, a non-starter. There is one access for Jean Talon. There is another access for Devonshire. However, the fire department insists, and this is perhaps something that works in our favor, I'm sure it does work in our favor, that there be 3 separate egress and access points for the Hippodrome project. So they have one at Jean Talon, they have another one at Devonshire. So number 3, there's 2 other options left. The third option is an underpass to Clanranald, which in my view would be very difficult to have a fire truck go under Clanranald at the tracks. I mean, that would be a major underpass. So that's one possibility. And the other one is this completely unrealistic option that they keep pushing, but we keep telling them doesn't make any sense, which is to push Jean Talon all the way through to Mackle. That means you'd have to cross 9 tracks, a parking lot, wetlands, and probably build an underpass double the length of the existing Cavendish underpass. Okay, so it's going to be much more expensive and much longer and much more difficult to build than the underpass that they would have to build if they would do the Cavendish extension at the end of Wallenberg. So that's completely unrealistic. And so for all those reasons, I mean, we explained to the minister that if any monies are to flow, and I'm happy Anthony Housefather is here because he's heard our message time and time again, and I know he's going to repeat it to the minister responsible, that if any monies are to flow for the Hippodrome infrastructure, it should be absolutely tied and linked to the Cavendish extension because it's the only option, the only realistic solution to properly service the Hippodrome project, as well as to service us. But the City of Montreal has to understand that they have no other option, that is the option. As the Mayor Brownstein has always said, when they do the Hippodrome, they have to do Cavendish. So that's our conclusion, and that's my report.
And that's breach of contract if they don't, and our Member of Parliament's in here, he knows the file very well. So we'll keep on pushing. They got it for $1, one condition. Keep on saying the same thing. $1, one condition, build Cavendish. Okay, who's next? Councillor Azarad.
Yeah, just a quick reminder to everybody, for those that haven't had their lead pipes tested, the deadline is June 30th, and just to reach out to engineering@cotesaintluc.org or call in the city. It's very important. By getting everybody's water tested by then will help us with the rollout plan, so don't delay anymore, please. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No? Anyone else? Councillor
Yes,
Benizri, go ahead.
thank you, Mayor Bronstein. Just to mention about some activities. Now it's summertime, so our teams are outside, preparing, all the can be all the parks and or making sure that we and our team, that we. I'm going to switch in French. Qu'on a nos équipes déjà qui sont dans les parcs, nos équipes là d'asphalte, nos équipes déjà de plantation de fleurs, l'embellissement des espaces de Côte Saint-Luc, on peut dire que le grand nettoyage a commencé, de façon à ce que nos résidents puissent profiter vraiment des activités plein air, en espérant qu'on ait un été ensoleillé. C'est ce qu'on va souhaiter à nos résidents. Et voilà, j'aimerais faire quand même remarquer que l'équipe des travaux publics est présente dans la ville 24 heures sur 24. Alors, merci.
Merci. Ok, je pense que tout le monde a parlé. Ok, c'est maintenant. On va aller à la vote. So all in favor of the departmental reports? Anyone opposed? So it's carried unanimously, and we move to item 7, Financial and Information Technology Services. 7A, Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of April 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2025 for a total amount of $4,997,670.71 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer Certificate number 25-0067 dated May 1st, 2025, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
I'll share some of the highlights from the previous month. So some of the highlights, we have an expense to upgrade our servers and data licenses, snow removal rentals. As mentioned, we had a tough winter this year. So rentals for trucks and vehicles, LED lighting, payments for paving from last summer. We always hold back some of the amounts, and a bond repayment. So those were the highlights from the latest disbursements from April 2025.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item B. Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that bylaw 2653, entitled bylaw 2653 to repeal bylaw 2635, authorizing a loan of $1,386,000, including professional fees, for the resurfacing of roads and sidewalk repairs at various locations belonging to the City of Côte Saint-Luc, be and is hereby adopted.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Just briefly, so that $1,386,000 will actually be, or is now in bylaw 2645, which is why we're repealing 2635. So we have the money in another bylaw for the road reconstruction budget for this coming summer. And projects are starting imminently in the next 3-4 weeks or so.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We go to item C. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the loan bylaws mentioned in the first paragraph of the preamble to be financed by the bond in accordance with the following conditions. The bond's one bond per maturity will be dated May 30th, 2025. Interest will be payable semi-annually on May 30th and November 30th of each year. The bonds will not be redeemable in advance. However, they may be redeemed with the consent of the holders in accordance with the Act respecting municipal debts and loans. The bonds will be registered in the name of the Canadian Depository for Securities Limited, CDS, and filed with it. CDS will act on behalf of its participants as a registrar for the book-based system, entry agent, and paying officer in charge of the transactions regarding its members. CDS will proceed with the transfer of funds according to the legal requirements of the bonds, and for that purpose, the Côte Saint-Luc City Council authorizes the City Treasurer to sign the documents required by the Canadian banking system entitled Autorisation pour le plan de débit préautorisé destiné aux entreprises. CDS will make payments of the principal and interest to members through electronic funds transfers, and for this purpose, CDS will directly withdraw the required amounts from the following account: Royal Bank of Royal Bank of Canada, Cavendish and Kildare branch, and that the bonds will be signed by the Mayor and the City Treasurer. The City of Côte Saint-Luc, as entitled by law, has mandated CDS to act as its fiscal authenticator agent, and the bonds will only become valid once they have been authenticated, and that with regard to the annual capital amortization scheduled for 2031 and subsequent years, the future term of the following loans, bylaws number 2500, 2559, 2569, 2590, 2621, 2608, 2623, 2625, and 2626 be shorter than the one originally set, i.e. for a term of 5 years as of May 30th, 2025, instead of the term prescribed for said amortizations, each subsequent issue being for the balance or part of the balance due on the loan.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So I'll give a bit of background. So what this is every year we finance some of the loans for the bylaws that were adopted in the last few years. So I would say things that we do differently today than we used to do, whereas in the past we would often borrow the money before the project begins. Now we generally wait till the project is well underway or even completed before borrowing the money, because we don't want to end up borrowing more than is required. So basically we're borrowing money for a series of for a series of projects. These are related to roads, traffic lights, LEDs, replacement of lead service lines, renovations at the ACC, renovations at Trudeau and Kerwin Park, and for vehicles. Now, just to clarify, so this is what usually for a 5-year term, just as one would do, for example, with their own mortgage. Even let's say if you have a 20-year or 25-year amortization, usually renew it in 5-year terms. So this is renewing for 5 years. Some of the bonds or some of the items are 5-year amortization. Some are 10, 15, up to 20 years. But basically, we'll be doing it for a 5-year term. And we hope, of course, that the interest rate will be low, and I'll be able to report more on that at the next meeting. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we go to the next item, which is E.
Oh, so I think
We're
first,
deferring,
oh, well, the audit committee report we're going to do,
okay, D.
yeah, so I think
Okay, we're
the
doing
Ed
that one.
Schechter will,
Go ahead, the tabling. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I confirm that the Audit Committee annual report for the 2024 fiscal year has and is hereby being tabled.
Thank you.
and I'll just mention that it will be available on, so this is the report of the audit committee. This should be available on the city website within the next few days, let's say.
Okay.
All right?
So then now we go to E.
Okay, so can I continue with E?
Yeah.
All right, I'll continue with 7E. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby awards a contract for the purchase and installation of UPS units for various server rooms to Stanex Inc. for an amount not to exceed $62,750 plus applicable taxes, and that Treasurer Certificate number 25-0075 dated May 6, 2025 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So I'll just I'll give some background. So this is for what's called a UPS, which is basically an uninterruptible power supply. In other words, it's a backup battery that is used for our server rooms. We talked about earlier, I mentioned as part of the disbursements, the city has been upgrading its servers. So in part of that process, we're getting battery backups. So we have 7 server rooms located throughout the city. And what this means is if there is a power failure, you know, I don't want to say we have indefinite power, but it allows us to have power to maintain the essential systems, you know, emergency systems, for example, City Hall, EMS, and so on. So we can maintain them for at least a few hours until the power is fully restored. So again, it's for 7 UPS systems.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? No one's opposed. It's carried unanimously. And now we go to the last item on that. F.
Yeah. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby renews the service agreement with Amelia Enterprises, Inc. regarding Amelia Pace Safe Solution for the 2025 year for a total amount of $69,200 plus applicable taxes, and that Treasurer Certificate number 25-0074 dated May 6, 2025 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Schuster. Any discussion?
So this is to renew the software for our recreation server, recreation platform. Previously, we had used a software called PG Activitech, where we had several complaints. I won't get into the details, but I can say as a user myself, I was not so happy. So far, the feedback from this new software, Amelia, has been pretty positive. I don't know if Councillor Schuster wants to share, but so far the feedback is positive, and we hope, of course, as more people use it, they'll have a better, let's say, better customer satisfaction.
Yes, just to comment further that the rollout for Amelia started off within the last month or so with day camp registration going exceptionally smoothly. The rollout continues over the spring and summer and into the early fall. You'll also notice that around the ACC and other facilities, there are new scanners that have been installed, and residents, once the full rollout is complete or as we go, will be able to use an app on their phone to access facilities instead of a dedicated card. So we're really pleased so far with how things are going. Thanks.
So great. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? No one's opposed. Carried unanimously. And then we move to Human Resources. 8A, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document titled Auxiliary Employees White Collars Hiring, dated May 5th, 2025, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That Treasurer's Certificate number 25-0072, dated May 5th, 2025, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
Just a brief explanation that it's a short list of seasonal employees, including day camp and tennis club attendants.
Excellent. So all in favor? No one's opposed. It's carried unanimously. And now we go to B. Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Daniel Balenko as an assistant permanent agent, permanent full-time position, effective April 9th, 2025. That Treasurer Certificate number 25-0069, dated May 1st, 2025, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky and seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
Welcome Permanent Agent Balenko to the Urban Planning Team.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move to C. Urban Kajavsky. Councillor Kajavsky.
I like Urban Kajavsky. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Urban Kajavsky.
Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Andy Hiapvu as a manager, full-time permanent position, effective April 29th, 2025. That Treasurer Certificate number 25-0068, dated May 1st, 2025, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky, seconded by Councillor Schuster. Any discussion?
As previously mentioned earlier in the meeting, welcome to Andy, and yeah, another hopefully great employee that fits into the urban planning team.
Great. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move on to D. Councillor Cohen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I so move that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Leila Ugo. I'm going to have to get to meet this lady and get to pronounce her name, as a library clerk, auxiliary part-time position, effective March 11th, 2025. The Treasurer Certificate number 25-0070, dated May 1st, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
Nope.
Hiring. All
Straightforward.
in favor? Okay. No one's opposed? Got Councillor Sabag. We're all good. So carried unanimously, and now we move to the next one, which is Councillor Cohen.
I so move, Mr. Mayor, that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the promotion of Karen Morris to Manager of Circulation Services, effective January 13, 2025. The Treasurer Certificate number 25-0071, dated May 5th, 2025, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. No? Or Councillor Schuster? You got it. Any discussion on that one?
I would just mention that Karen's been with the library for a very long time. She's a really terrific worker, so congratulations, well deserved.
Excellent. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move on to Legal Services. Councillor Burku.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Je propose que le conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc autorise le paiement d'un montant de 90 000 $ pour sa part de la franchise collective qui sera détenue par l'UMQ, ainsi que le montant de 6 635,89 $, plus les taxes applicables pour le regroupement d'assurance générale honoraire UMQ, que le certificat du trésorier numéro 25-0065, daté du 28 avril 2025, a été émis par le trésorier de la Ville pour attester de la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites ci-dessus. Et c'est proposé.
Merci. Proposé pour le conseiller Burku, appuyé par le conseiller Ben-Isri. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
This is basically a payment of insurance premium to the UMQ and thankfully it has decreased, so we're getting a better deal than last year.
All in favor? No one's opposed? Great, carried unanimously. We go to Public Works. There are two different park equipments in two districts, so Councilor Burku will move the first one for McDowell Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if I have it in English, so
I think.
I don't see it in English, so I'm just doing French. Que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc octroie par la présente un contrat d'équipement récréatif Jean Bett, Inc. pour l'achat de nouveaux équipements de jeux pour le parc McDowell pour un montant de 42 713 $ plus les taxes applicables, que les dépenses décrites seront financées intégralement à partir de l'excédent de fonctionnement affecté de la ville, basically the surplus, que le certificat du trésorier numéro 25-0073 a été émis le 7 mai 2025 par le trésorier de la ville attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Burko, appuyé par le conseiller Benizri.
Yeah, it'd be
Est-ce qu'il
nice
y a
if we could
discussion?
put it on the screen, but
Nice equipment, yeah.
I don't know.
No one's able to put it up. Oh,
Well-
well. You can put it up.
Are you able to? That's the only
We have
thing.
our assistant technologically person.
It's page,
Yeah,
two, Dita like,
277 Dita
Dita
like.
like.
That's good.
I hope that residents will like.
It looks nice. All right, if you can get the pictures of the
Okay.
park equipment up at some
And you
point,
can-
great.
It's pretty similar to the next one, so we can move on to Roback.
Yep.
Vote on this, move on to Roback, and then we'll,
So it's been moved and seconded, all in favor? So it's carried unanimously. We'll see the pictures as soon as they get up. Stephen, early picture?
okay,
No, otherwise Darrell might push you away.
you can do Roback.
Let's do Roback in the meantime. So Councilor Sabag, you want to do Roback? Councilor Benizri, who wants to do it? You may as well do it. He'll show the pictures, but let me pass them as soon as you get them.
You're next, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, go for it. We'll show the pictures as soon as we can.
Confusion with all
no,
this
it's fine,
audio
you don't
video.
have to wait for the picture.
Be it resolved that the city of Côte Saint-Luc wishes to award a contract for the purchase of new play equipment for Roebuck Park, and that the city requested prices from suppliers and received 3 quotes, whereas as per Article 13 of the city bylaw concerning contract management, the city is permitted to award a contract by mutual agreement for an amount between $25,000 and the threshold for public tenders if it's in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc. That the city councilor hereby awards a contract to Équipement Récréatif Jean Bett,
No pictures?
Inc. for the purchase of new play equipment for Roebuck Park for the amount of $40,630 plus applicable taxes, that the described expense will be financed in whole from the city restricted operating surplus. Treasurer certificate number 25-0076 dated May 7th, 2025 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expense.
Excellent. So it's been moved by Councilor Sabag, seconded by Councilor Benizri, and here's the picture of, this is the one for, okay, so that's a very nice
Dita
piece of
chooses.
equipment for, that's a Dita approved, Dita liked, and that's for McDowell Park, which is the park between, and my wife is talking about it already because it's the park between Randall and Borden, directly across my mom's house. So when my grandson comes to visit his great-grandmother, they can go play in the park. Very nice. Next picture. Well, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of Roback? All in favor of Roback? Roback. Approved. And now let's see the pictures. Oh, Roback, very nice. Very nice. I guess there's more space. Nice, beautiful. It's always nice to have new equipment for the kids to play in our city. Lots of young families, lots of kids. We want them to have fun and be happy. So now we move to the next item, which is Purchasing and General Counsel, Councilor Burku, 11A. Appointment of Director of Public Works. 4. An evaluation.
Okay, so, whereas on August 14th, 2023, the city awarded a contract to Les Entreprises Québec for snow removal services under the terms of public tender number C-022328, whereas the city wishes to appoint a representative to perform the evaluation of Entreprise Québec Inc.'s performance under tender number C-022328. Be it resolved, the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby appoints the Director of Public Works Department, Beatrice Newman, to evaluate Les Entreprises Québec Inc.'s performance under said tender for snow removal services. Thank you.
Moved by Councilor Burku, seconded by Councilor Schuster. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And then we move on to recreation. Councilor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby adopts bylaw number 2633-1, amending bylaw 2633 concerning recreation tariffs of the City of Côte Saint-Luc for the fiscal year of 2025.
Moved by Councilor Schuster. Seconded by Councilor Azarad, of course. All in favor? No. Discussion first. Discussion and then we'll vote.
Just that this is a bylaw that has to do with the memberships that are offered through recreation. There was a slight edit or amendment since the notice of motion and tabling of last month, and we're ready to adopt.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? No? Okay, so it's carried unanimously. Now we're going to urban development, which is Councilor Kajavsky, who's going to do the items in their order, starting with 8051 Mackle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing front facade modifications to the existing detached single-family dwelling on lot 105-2205 and prepared for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of April 8, 2025, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councilor Kajavsky, seconded by Councilor.
Yeah, it's my district, so whoever. Leo?
Councilor Sabag. Any discussion?
You can see it up on the screen. It's, yeah, they didn't know immediately that they didn't need PAC approval, but it's an acceptable modification. And a reminder that everyone should apply for a permit and call the city before you do anything to your house. Even if you want to sneeze on it, just call us and make sure that it's okay.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? All in favor? Everybody, Councilor Benizri's in favor, everyone's in favor. Okay, no one's opposed. Carried unanimously, and we go to 5668 to 5870 Shalom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing facade modifications to the existing detached two-family dwelling on lot 156-2056 and prepared for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of April 8, 2025, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councilor Kajavsky, seconded by Councilor Azarad. Any discussion?
Yeah, so this, it went back and forth a couple of times, and we came to a good consensus about the facade modifications on Shalom. Yeah.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? It's carried unanimously then, and we move to 5722 McClear, minor exemption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw number 2632, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located 5722 McAleer, lot 105-2890, being is hereby approved, the whole as more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow the existing detached single-family dwelling built in 1959 under permit number 1959-00751 to maintain its current rear setback at a minimum of 5.4 meters instead of the minimum required rear setback of 6.1 meters. A balcony located in the rear yard at a minimum distance of 1.2 meters from the rear landline instead of the minimum required distance of 3.05 meters from the rear landline, and with a maximum encroachment of 4.9 meters into the minimum rear setback instead of the maximum permitted encroachment of 3.05 meters into the minimum rear setback. The whole, notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2217, Annex B, Zone RU-21, Article 4-2-2, Table 1, Article 443, and Article 445A.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
Just in short, this is kind of the nature of some of the streets in Côte Saint-Luc, some of the backyards, I should say rather, that they tend to be on some streets a little narrower or less deep than others. So it becomes a little more difficult to have a big enough balcony, and often those balconies get a little too close to the rear setback. So this is just to legalize it. So this is one of, I'd say, 4 or 5 streets, Pinedale in particular, in Councillor Burku's district, that tend to be a little too shallow for a properly arranged backyard, let's say.
Okay. So it's been moved by Councillor Kajewski and seconded by Councillor Azarad. All in favor? No one's opposed. It's carried unanimously. And now we go to the stance of the Aglo. Councillor Sabag.
Mr. Mayor, be it resolved that the City Council take the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in June 2025 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the City of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held in June 2025 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Moved by Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed. It's carried unanimously. Any other business? And not any other business. So then, second question period. Do we have any questions? We have questions online? Not. So we do have questions from the public. So please come forward. First. Monica Soulain, welcome.
How are you? I have 3 little short questions. The first one for the surplus, congratulations, that's awesome. Transfer taxes, they hurt. Is there any way to like decrease them over the next few years thanks to the surplus? You don't have to answer now, just think about it.
No, taxes.
The percentage, yeah. It's very painful, like when these buyers have to buy something and then it's really expensive. Anyway. Since you also brought up all these houses, there's a house at the corner of Clover and Wildwood that was firebombed a few years ago. I've already written to the city about it. It just sits there, all boarded up, black with fire still on it. Is there any way that the city can do something to get these owners to, I don't know, fix it? I'm not sure. Look into it, please. I've already written to the city a few times. Some of the city councilors looked into it. I think somebody answered me, not the city councilors, but somebody in, I guess, urban planning, that there was no quote-unquote bylaw to fix it, so, but it's still there. It's still there, and my parents live right across from it.
Councillor Sabag?
Yes, thank you.
Number
No,
3.
why is an answer?
I'm just going to answer real quick because I do live on that street, so I know what she's talking about. I think Councillor Benizri was involved in the case as well, but it's been years, and I think there's nothing much the city can do legally to force, but just to make sure that it's clean, that the grass is cut. But it is a nuisance, I believe, to not only to your parents, but to everybody that lives in the street. We have to look at this, and it's been
A few years, like at least 3 years.
more than a few years, I think, that this has been going on. So I agree that we should maybe find out what we can do legally and then take it from there.
Okay.
Further,
Yeah, go ahead.
that I had an issue similar in my district on West Loop. There was a home without stairs now for, I'm going to say 10 years. I would suggest, Maître Schechter, maybe for the minutes, that we flag it for urban planning inspections, at least have someone go by and maybe find out who the owner is, if we can perhaps fine them for nuisance, or we'll look into it. There are different avenues, I'm sure, that we can take. But number one is to find out if it violates any of our bylaws. Boom.
Okay. Well, thank you
Two
for
other
that.
little tiny points.
Next.
You guys mentioned upgrading the servers. Do you have a cybersecurity plan to protect the data? You don't have to answer that now either. And then
We should.
finally,
Councillor Italy, go ahead.
since you brought up housing, earlier this year, this was my main point, there was a lot of talk about the Côte Saint-Luc master plan, public consultations, surveys, excitement. Now it seems to have completely disappeared. Why has it disappeared? Weren't there supposed to be tabling? Like, what's going on with the master plan?
It's not disappearing. Like I said already to the other questioner, our next step is to present the results of the traffic study, which I think is a good traffic study and important that the public gets to it. And we will be getting to the adoption. We don't have an exact date, but we will be getting to the adoption.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I
We
could,
adopted the first draft, yeah. We did
actually-
adopt the first draft.
If I can just actually answer some of
Sure, go ahead, Councillor Italy.
question. So first, just to clarify, so the tax increase this year was 2.49% for the average home. The goal has been, and I would say, I guess probably 8 out of the last 10 years, we managed to keep the tax increase below the rate of inflation. We had a year or two where we were not able, but like I said, the vast majority of the time. Well, no, I think she was.
Taxes, she was talking about taxes.
Oh, you're talking about the welcome tax, or you're talking about the tax rate? Oh.
That's not under our
All right.
jurisdiction.
Well, so for the welcome tax, sorry, I thought you were talking about the tax rate in general. What I will say for the welcome tax, the way we've done it in Côte Saint-Luc is it's a staggered tax rate for the welcome tax. So, and I don't remember the exact percentages, but below 500,000, it's a lower rate. From 500,000 to $1 million, it's a slightly higher. $1 million to $3 million, over $3 million, $5 million, and so on. So it's designed. It's designed more for single-family homes. So if someone buys a smaller home, they're paying a lower tax rate. If someone buys a bigger home, they're paying a higher tax rate. Now, where the city benefited was some larger apartment buildings sold. And because we only have one rate for the welcome tax, because it could be a $10, $20, $30 million apartment building, they were subject to a higher tax rate, similar to a larger home would be. I would say it is something that, so the city does have control over that. I would say that is something we've tried to do over the last few years, is keep the rate lower for homes under 500,000 or under $1 million, which we know there's less and less homes in Côte Saint-Luc under $1 million. Our average home is still, I think, about 700,000-800,000. So it is still, the average home is still less than $1 million. We're going to have the new roll is coming out in September. I'm sure you know that. And actually, we will do a presentation on the new roll when it does come out, as we generally do. Well, I don't know. Will the new average be $1 million or more? I'm not sure. We'll find out. We'll find out roughly the same time you do. And I would just say, just to go back, just to switch to the IT, we actually just hired a new manager in IT who I met the other day, who's excellent. The previous manager had gone on sick leave and then left. We were working with a consultant for a few years. But basically, I can tell you the IT department has been investing a lot. I mentioned servers, I mentioned the battery backups, software, so we are working hard. We've done a lot of upgrades to our email system, for example, to flag emails that are coming from outside of the domain so we don't get caught. So I would say we're doing a lot. I mean, the city's also trying to ensure the safety of our emails, our information, because we do have obviously personal information for residents, so it's definitely something that is top of mind. Thank you.
I also just wanted to add that we've spent quite a bit of time educating our users as well to avoid any kind of phishing scams or things like that.
You let me know what I need. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Hi, my question is in regards to what was mentioned tonight, which was inspection of lead in our water. I wanted to know a little bit more about it. Is there an issue that has been brought up, which is the reason we have to have our water inspected? And if so, what is the process for me to inspect the lead in my water if I live in an apartment building or in a condo building?
No way. But
So-
Councillor Italy's
So,
expert
yeah,
on
so
that.
maybe I'll speak to that. So what we did in Côte Saint-Luc was we tested well over 1,000 homes. I think it was in the vicinity of 12 to 1,500 homes that were tested for the presence of lead. The reason we were testing the homes is up until, let's say, the late 60s, early 70s, lead was used in the service lines in many cases, which is basically it supplies water from the main that's under the street. You can imagine under every road in Côte Saint-Luc, there's a water main, and off that water main, there's smaller pipes that go to every home. So lead was used in many cases. They stopped using it again late 60s, early 70s. Lead was not used for larger apartment buildings or condos. The reason is lead was used for smaller pipes. It was much more malleable. It was an easier metal to use. But for larger units, it was only copper that was used. Councillor Kajavsky is correct. Sorry, copper or galvanized steel, but the point is not lead. So that's why we were not testing for lead. The city tested, like I said, we tested quite a lot of homes. What we found, I'll just share, we found that the majority conformed to the previous standard. What happened was the government, and this is actually at the federal government level, it was originally 10 parts per billion was the acceptable norm. So the majority of our homes were within the norm, about 80%. The government lowered it from 10 to 5, and then at that point, it flipped. The majority were not conforming, at least the majority of the homes that were built during that period where lead may have been used. So again, because most of our homes were sort of in that in-between point, including my home, as an example. I tested myself. We were at 9, so we were complying with the old, but not the new norms. All that to say, I do in my own house use a lead filter, so that filters out any lead. So I use it for the drinking water. It's not necessary just to mention for bathing or other purposes, but for drinking water, we always use that, and I encourage residents to do it. But just to go back to the point, for apartment buildings or condos, it was not an issue because lead was not used. And actually most of the, well, I don't know if I'd say most, many of the apartment buildings or condos tend to be newer anyway, which are using, better systems. But so all that to say, we don't test for larger buildings like apartments or condos.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Councillor
much.
Erdely. Great having a scientist on council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I'm going to move for adjournment. Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Schuster. All in favor? Okay, so we are adjourned. Thank you.